Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you're with Simon today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about aspects simplified, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of my ideas and thoughts around how this can be synthesized in your birth chart. And more importantly, when we are looking at the chart from an evolutionary perspective, and we're taking into consideration that the 12 archetypes and learning them as the foundation can actually broaden your skills to be able to see how these aspects are showing up as well in your birth chart. So instead of being all confused about Venus square this or Mercury in conjunct that there's an easier way of synthesizing it. And hopefully today I can kind of open up that window to what that looks like. So just wanted to quickly make the announcement. As you guys know, today is the last day for the Astrology School offer. We're really excited about starting this process. So if this is something that you've been interested in and you've just kind of been waiting out, just making sure if this is what you want to do, today's the last day. And in the description in the comment section as well, there's the link. Okay. All right. So just to kind of recap a little bit, when we talked about the first video, we talked about how to use astrology for transformation. And in there, one of my main points was, if we start to look at our chart from the point of view of how is this planet facilitating my evolution, or what does it mean to have moon in, say, Scorpio, not from the perspective of just a personality traits like, oh, your moon's in Scorpio, therefore you're like this. But what is it about that moon in Scorpio that is bringing out those qualities, as part of your life, but also what does it speak to in terms of karmically part of your journey? And when we can start to look at that chart and we investigate, we can get quite a lot of depth out of the actual story. And it brings you to life because it's you, right? That's in that chart. And then I went on to go and just say that, the first step that I think is really important when learning evolutionary astrology is having the mindset that if you study the 12 archetypes, Aries to Pisces, thoroughly, and that you always come back to that foundation, it will then set you up for being able to look at the chart from an even deeper perspective, because you can actually now open up the doors to looking at how aspects play out, because the aspects in the chart will always have a quality associated with an archetype. So the example I gave was there are two squares in the chart. The first square is one that is 90 degrees. And there's a piece of information that I wanted to add as part of this process. When you're looking at a 90-degree square, you're adding in a component, which I haven't shared with you guys yet. It's a little bit complex. Is called phases. And evolutionary astrology adds in phasal relationships between planets, just as we have phasal relation between the sun and the moon. Well, there are phasal relationships between Venus and Mars, right? Pluto and Saturn, Saturn and the moon. And so when you form a 90-degree square, you're looking at the phasal relationship between two planets, and you're also then determining, is this, like I said, 90 degrees or 270? And depending on the nature, the degree of the square, it will have a quality associated with one of the 12 archetypes. And that's what I mean by opening up and broadening your horizons to see what's actually taking place within your chart, as opposed to just trying to understand it from descriptions. Now, with that being said, I then went on to talk a little bit more about the two archetypes, Aries and Cancer, and I showed you how both of these archetypes represent these qualities. And in this video now, I'm going to show you that the first quarter square has the archetype of Aries in it and has the archetype of Cancer in it. And more importantly, if you look at the fourth house in your astrology chart, so if you look at the fourth house in your astrology chart, the sign that's on the fourth house, and if you look at the sign that's on your rising sign, as in your ascendant, so in my case, Aquarius, right? If you look at those two signs and you apply what I'm about to tell you here, you'll see those dynamics show up for you, okay? So here's what I want to show you with regards to this. we're going to look at the tension between Aries and Cancer. Now, in the natural zodiac or zodiacal wheel, you'll start out with Aries over here, always on the rising sign, and then you will go 30 degrees, and that's when you have the Aries sign, another 30 degrees that will give you the Taurus archetype, and then another 30 degrees that will give you Gemini. And so those three signs that I've showed you all add up to 90 degrees, and then you hit the fourth house cusp, okay? The fourth house cusp, all right? So this relationship between Aries, which in the previous video I talked about as the instinct in nature and the instinct in the human experience to burst into something completely new, to break through, all right? This is where we are literally acting in an instinctual way to break out of any definition or, any definition. We'll just leave it at that. So there's this energy that does this. But we know that the Cancer archetype, the moon, the fourth house, this relates to the instinct to nurture. And so we talked about how nurture, in most cases, is a return to keeping things safe, or a return inward, yin sign, and coming inwards and keeping our status or our stage in a homeostasis way. So there's something that is safe, right? Now, the example I gave in the previous video was, if you just started a new job or you entered a new environment, that instinctual feeling of, I'm in this new place, I don't feel secure. And so therefore, in this moment, I feel the tension between something that feels familiar, right? This is the Cancer part, and something that feels completely new and is an exploration, but has never been defined before. That's the Aries part. And that tension that is felt between the desire for exploring something new or being in a new place and the experience of feeling safe and comfortable and secure, Cancer archetype, that tension is an anxiety of separation. And that actually occurs also through when the baby gets birthed into the world. When the baby, Aries, comes into the world, its natural instinct is to return to the mother's breasts, okay? Because from the point of view of the baby's instincts, right, it is returning to safety. And so there is the dynamic tension between the fourth house and the first house. And it's there where it comes out and it wants to return to the womb, primarily in of course, human beings. And this is a product of this tension, like I said, between something that's being born into each moment and the desire for returning back to safety. Now, when you look at this example over here, and I'll show you here, I'm sure we've all experienced this at some point, right? When we were children and there was a new day at school, or there was something that we had to go and do. Maybe you needed to confront somebody for whatever reason. And if you look at this relationship between the mom that's saying, hey, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, there's anxiety in you, you're feeling this way, it's completely natural. And the child's like, oh, I don't want to leave you right now, I'm going into a new environment. And there's that dynamic tension that shows up. And that is the way that the ascendant works, right? The ascendant or rising sign has this natural anxiety in it to separate, to explore something, but also to have your sense of identity feel comfortable. That's why it feels really, really challenging sometimes to be in uncomfortable situations, because we're learning about ourselves and experiencing things beyond the comfort of what we know to be familiar. And again, that's that dynamic tension that sits there. That's that archetype. Now, when you look at the 90-degree square, which again, I know that might be a little bit difficult to make sense of, but when you're looking at, say Mars and Venus, and you're following evolutionary astrology, and you're able to establish this this 90-degree square awareness, as in you went to your chart and said, okay, yep, Mars is there, Venus, let's just do this, right? Let's say Mars is in Aries and Venus is in Cancer, okay? You will see there with those two planets, they are in this square that I'm just talking about right now. And so within this person's psychology and within this person's experience. And for any of you that actually have Mars in Aries or squaring Venus in Cancer or the other way around, write in the comment section. But there will always be a dynamic tension of wanting to keep yourself feeling safe and secure, and this instinctual drive to try things out and the anxiety of separation. For any of you that have got Pluto in the first house, if you got Saturn in the first house, in fact, you got any planets in the first house, this will show up for you. If you have Mars in Cancer, this will show up for you. If you've got a Cancer rising, this will show up for you. And I'm going to put a pin in that just for a second and ask you, why is it that I use Mars in Cancer or Venus on the ascendant or, any planets in the first house, or if I'm taking, like, let's say Aries, the sign Aries on the fourth house cup, why do I use those examples? Okay. So yeah, that's just kind of a small little reflection on, that's the reason why it's mentioning. Okay. So, those examples, that's where you'll see that dynamic tension. Now this applies to, say, Moon square Saturn as well. If Moon and Saturn are in a 90-degree square, you will see that there is a dynamic tension between those two planets wanting to express themselves and play out in a way that, just like I've showed it now. So I'm going to go back to this little picture over here, and I'm going to put up a chart, and I want to show you, just in terms of looking at the chart, notice that this chart has a Virgo rising, and if you notice on the fourth house cusp, you'll see Scorpio. Now that isn't necessarily an exact square between Virgo and Scorpio, because a natural 90-degree square between Virgo is actually in Sagittarius as well as Gemini. But in the case of this chart, what I really want to show you here is something a little bit more advanced. If I take, for instance, Venus in the fourth house Sag, okay, Venus in the fourth house Sag, as you can see it there. Now, what I'm going to be looking at here is this instinctual need to nurture one's own emotions, right? This is the Venus here. It's very important for this person to nurture their emotional reality. But because it's in the sign Sagittarius, I can synthesize it through this lens and say, oh, Sag, very much a fire sign, very much about exploration. Here's somebody that's emotional security will come through certain patterns that have got Sagittarius nature to it. So they might be somebody who loves to explore philosophy and deeply identifies with the philosophy of a certain cosmology, right? They identify, fourth house, remember security, through some cosmology, some of ideas, some form of teaching, etc. But if you look at the rising sign here, it's in Virgo. Now, if this person in their life came into contact with somebody that started to, say, persecute them or criticize their beliefs and their ideas, you will actually, this person will feel that anxiety within themselves, natural tension between the first house and fourth house. And this natural tension will show up as an uncomfortability around their ideas being challenged in a certain way, right? Or that they may not know emotionally certain parts of their truth or their cosmology. And that Virgo rising, because the nature of Virgo comes through crisis that leads to adjustment, they will be very insecure about wanting to, say, explore their truths, okay, because it brings them into confronting their security. Now, the evolutionary intention here, if you were to be guiding this person, would be to say that with that Virgo rising, the suggestion is to sometimes be pro uncomfortable situations when rigorously testing your ideas, so that you'd become less emotionally attached to the truth or the beliefs and more to the pursuit of knowledge. And so in that sense, this person then becomes somebody who identifies for the pursuit of knowledge and the exploration of truth and is comfortable in intellectual conversation and challenges ideas and so on. So that would be a way that would show up, and that dynamic tension between the fourth and first house leads to growth ultimately, and helps this person facilitate a deeper understanding of their evolutionary trajectory. So that's an idea that I can show you of this one way out of many different ways that this can be synthesized. So I hope that this gave you something to explore, something to be curious about and to understand. And I really hope that there was a lot of value in this for you guys. So that's it for this video. I really, like I said, hope that it got you thinking. And just a quick reminder, today is the last day for the Astrology School. And we probably won't be running this offer again. I'm really excited to be taking the people on board, and I can't wait to be teaching EA for you guys. So if this is something that you do want to do, click on the link beneath this video as well as in the comment section. And for all of you that have signed up so far, I really, really can't wait to start this with you. I'm super excited. I'm amped beyond anything, and I love it. So until another video, take care, everybody, and have an amazing day. Bye.